Welcome, everyone, to the State of the College at Barnard Reunion Reimagined 2021. My name is Amy Veltman, class of 1989, and president of the Alumni Association of Barnard College. As a reminder, please note that this event is being recorded and will be shared later this week. Attendees will not have microphone or camera access during this online event. Attendees' voices, likenesses, and/or images will not be captured by Barnard College. Written submission of questions may be shared during the Q&A portion of the event. With that in mind, I would like to ask that if you would like to submit a question during the event, please locate the chat function within the Zoom webinar. There, you'll find a link to a form where you can submit your questions in real time. It is the purpose of the Alumni Association of Barnard College to promote a spirit of fellowship, and Reunion is one of the flagship programs that brings us all together to hear from other members of the Barnard community, to learn and to engage with one another. Thank you for being with us today and throughout the week to celebrate this tradition. It is now my pleasure to introduce the 8th president of Barnard College, Sian Beilock. President Beilock has led Barnard since 2017. Before then, she served as the Stella M. Rowley Professor of Psychology and Executive Vice Provost at the University of Chicago. She is one of the world's leading experts on the cognitive science behind choking under pressure and performance anxiety, with a focus on math and science for women and girls. She's the author of 2 critically acclaimed books, Choked and How the Body Knows Its Mind, and her 2018 TED Talk has been viewed over 2.5 million times. During her first 3 years at Barnard, President Beilock has worked to enhance Barnard's STEM programs to parallel the college's renown in the arts and humanities. She's implemented Feel Well, Do Well, a campus-wide health and wellness initiative, launched Beyond Barnard, a one-stop shop for career resources at Barnard and beyond, and raised over $50 million in financial aid and related support to help increase access to Barnard for first-generation and low-income students. We are grateful for her leadership and very proud to have her at the helm. Please join me in welcoming Sian Beilock.
Thank you, Amy, for that wonderful introduction. It's so great to be here, and it's been really great to be able to drop into so many of the specific reunion events for different classes over the last few days. The class of 66, I kicked it off with them, and they were just so excited to be together. Of course, you know, we all wish we could be together in person rather than on Zoom, but I think it's really nice that we're able to encompass so many more individuals than would likely be able to be in New York. And the connections are real, whether we're virtually together or not. So in this next several minutes to an hour, I'm hoping to just give you a little bit of an update about where we are at Barnard and to take your questions. And I want to start by just saying the take home. If you decide to get off now or you have other things to do, which I hope you don't, but Barnard is stronger than ever. It's been certainly a challenging 16, 15 months. And I know so many of us have experienced losses. That's been true close in our community and farther. But I have just been really heartened by the way our faculty, our students, our staff, our parents, and especially our alumni have come together to support each other and to support Barnard. We've been using the phrase a lot, Barnard together, and I think it really does epitomize what is so special about being part of the Barnard community is that it is a family. When we sent students home a spring ago because of the pandemic in New York City, our alums stepped up to help students with emergency aid. When we were admitting our class of 2024, who just had a very odd first year, our alumni, many of them wrote notes, called students, just so really special. And when you look at what students talk about when they apply to Barnard, one of the biggest things they say is to follow in the footsteps of the 36,000 graduates that came before them. And so it's you who really are such an important part of making Barnard so special. So I thought I would start by taking a step back, telling you a little bit about what we did this year in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and then telling you about what's happening on campus now. It's really wonderful having summer going on campus and actually having students and classes going on. I love seeing everyone's faces, and we're giving students ice cream every week from great local places. And so it's so great to see them experiencing and enjoying the summer. But going back, we really, a year ago, started thinking about what we were going to have to do for this year and how we could deliver an education, some virtual, some in person, that would meet students where they were. And this is where our faculty come in, who are exceptional. Just as a reminder, as you know, but I think it's important to say, our faculty are scholar teachers. They're tenured at Barnard and Columbia. They're at the top of their field in terms of their research, but they're at Barnard because they care about the undergraduate experience, because they know our young women can go out there and change the world with the right input and support. And really it revolves around this notion of academic excellence, which is at the heart of what Barnard does. And so rather than just go on with the current curriculum, we made a decision last summer with the faculty to really meet our students where they were. We changed almost half of our classes to focus on the pandemic and the current social justice movements. We wanted students to be able to debate, to understand, and have context for what they were experiencing. We did this in many different ways. All first years took a required lecture series called Big Problems, Making Sense of 2020, where we brought in individuals, some alums, other individuals to talk about the current times. We had a new experience called Third Space, where students could actually, wherever they were across the world, tackle problems and challenges that were happening in their communities. And of course, our courses as a whole changed and adapted to the current moment. In fact, we are the only institution in the country that over half of our courses, almost half of our classes, changed to focus on the current moment. And this was across disciplines. Our faculty rolled up their sleeves and dug in deep. Let me just give you some examples of the amazing classes that were taught. Rebecca Wright, our chair of our new computer science department, taught tech and society. Such an important issue at the moment around monitoring, around vaccination, around testing. We had COVID-19 and care workers and oral history, the global politics of COVID-19 and political science, from Exodus to the coronavirus in the religion department. And we had logic and limits of economic justice in the econ department. We had suburbs, race, class, and conflict in urban studies. And we had a whole class in biology devoted to COVID-19 and the virus itself. Just so important, because students wanted to understand the current moment, the pandemic, issues around racial and social unrest and economic inequality. And what better time to focus on these issues than being in the current moment? I think it helped our students, and it certainly helped our faculty and staff. Beyond content, we actually adjusted our academic calendar. We turned all of our semesters into both semester-long courses as well as intensives. So 7-week intensive classes. We had a fall A and a fall B, and a spring A and a spring B. And we added a third semester this year. For the very first time, we're teaching summer classes on Barnard's campus, summer A and summer B. And the reason we did this is because of the data. Research shows in pedagogy that sometimes when you're in a difficult environment, the world around us, having these intense classes can be better for learning. And so we tried it. Our faculty really were excited to do it. And we also taught in different modalities. 25% of our courses had an in-person component, and 25 were taught in high flex, where some students, 25% were taught in high flex, where some students were in the classroom and some students were in the cloud. And actually, I had the experience of teaching high flex, and it was just really, it's first of all challenging, but it was an amazing experience. half the students were in the classroom and they all had computers in front of them, and then half the students were outside so we could social distance. So they were in their dorm rooms or in their apartments or at home. And then I had a screen where I could see all the students, the ones in the classrooms and the ones that were at home. And it was really amazing. We had all of our classrooms fitted with microphones and cameras so the students who weren't in the classroom could feel like they were in the classroom. And we just tried to adapt as best we could to the current times. You know, our priority first and foremost was health and wellness, but then we worked as hard as we could to deliver the academic experience and the academic excellence that really is just the hallmark of a Barnard education. The other thing that we did is we followed the data in science. And when you talk about a place that's around academic excellence, you have to live it yourself. The data said that if we wanted to have students on campus, that if we wanted to have some students in the dorm, what we needed to do was constantly test our students, faculty, and staff for COVID-19. We set up a very intense testing program, and we test all of our students, whether they lived on campus or in the immediate area, who wanted to access campus twice a week throughout the year. By spring semester, we had 80% of our students either living on campus or in the immediate area. The other 20% were across the globe. And we tested students, faculty, and staff twice a week. And I'm pleased to say that across the entire year, we never had a COVID positivity rate greater than 0.5%. This is really important because it allowed us to continue to work safely, to have some students around, to run our labs, to be in studios, really to do what we do best. And then, of course, we had students across the world. We partnered with Colombia to open up our global centers, local WeWorks where students could come together. We even had some faculty who taught in the middle of the night, New York time, so that they could teach classes for students during the day across the world. And we have tents on Futter Field where our students and faculty can be outside talking to each other. And I have to say that I've been so impressed with how our community has functioned in terms of their safety and responsibility and care for one another. People masked up when they needed to mask up. They socially distanced. They did everything they were supposed to do. And it really allowed us to continue to iterate and be open and have some amazing experiences. I want to give a big shout out to our primary care health services, our Furman Counseling Center, who helped with all the wellness resources. And we even established an entirely new pandemic response team that would bring food to students in quarantine, that would help ensure that everyone had their tests back, oftentimes within 24 hours. And I'm just deeply grateful for all of our faculty and staff who worked tirelessly to keep everyone safe and help us return to campus as soon as we can. And in turn, the college worked hard to support our faculty and staff. We enhanced backup childcare and elder care resources. We put into place emergency funds for faculty and staff. And we also deployed our students as tutors for faculty and staff children who were out of school. We're really excited about this program. In fact, several universities and colleges across the country have now replicated our Barnard tutoring core. I think this sort of replication is the highest form of flattery, and it's amazing that we were able to take our students who were looking for jobs, many of them who needed work study as part of their financial aid package, to help them connect with faculty and student children. And I think some really great bonds were formed. Of course, none of this was free. In fact, we made a significant financial investment in order to do the work we did. We estimate we spent an extra $15 million this year in pandemic-related costs, including the testing, including support for remote learning, including helping students with extra financial aid and living expenses so they could be off campus, right in the area, so we could thin out the dorms. And I'm so grateful to the generosity of so many of you who stepped up to help with these unanticipated costs, with the needs for our students, faculty, and staff. Barnard relies on your support. I talk about this a lot, that Barnard was founded on an idea, not an endowment like the rest of our Ivy Plus peers. And your support means so much for us to be able to function at the highest level possible. Our students share my appreciation. Some of you may have tuned into our Barnard commencement ceremony for the class of 2021. And just so you know, the recording is still available at barnard.edu/commencement. So many of our students talked at the commencement ceremony about the support from the Barnard community, and many called out alums specifically, so thank you. So although our commencement ceremony was virtual because we just didn't have the capacity to house all of our students and their families, I want you to know that we took very seriously this idea of an endpoint, a bookend to our students' academic careers at Barnard. They're leaving as a student and becoming an alum. So we held 9 outdoor receptions on campus, on Futter Field, under tents, where our students could safely gather with one another and their faculty to celebrate their incredible accomplishments before our virtual ceremony. Many of the student speakers, as I said, mentioned how grateful they were for your support, from sending them notes to supporting the Safety Net Fund to increasing gifts to the annual fund. And they loved gathering in person with their faculty. I attended many of these ceremonies and they were truly moving. We even resurrected an old tradition where every student got a white rose as we announced their major and graduation. So we're so excited to look forward to holding a real in-person ceremony and celebration for the class of 21 and also the class of 20, which didn't get that ceremony. We look forward to gathering together in person, but we were happy to be able to do something to send our class of 2021 off into the world. So even though we were dealing with the pandemic, the opportunities and the challenges associated with it all year, Barnard kept going and we didn't miss a beat. For example, Beyond Barnard went completely virtual. Just as a reminder, Beyond Barnard is our one-stop shop for career advising, internship support to connect with alums. They continued their excellent support of students and alumni. Beyond Barnard is open to students and alums lifelong. Everything from internship placement to fellowships and graduate school and medical school applications, really helping our students take that next step. Many students were hired virtually this year through these sorts of programs on campus and off. And it was really a very exciting time to think about how we did things in a new way. We also made a strategic decision to develop Beyond Barnard in a way that provides complex and comprehensive support to our student. And it's really paying off in terms of student outcomes. Rather going to different places to learn about internships or graduate school or fellowships or medical school, Beyond Barnard is a one-stop shop, with the idea being you might not know what you want to do before you go and ask questions. So why ask you to decide? And the second idea being one that we fully believe here at Barnard is that your major does not dictate your career path. We have English majors working at Google and chemistry majors in the publishing field. So why not have one central place that our students go from day one to start exploring their next career steps? And I do think we're seeing the outcomes now. Beyond Barnard just finished this year, its 3rd year in actuality. And I'm pleased to say that for the class of 2020 that graduated in the middle of the pandemic, within 6 months, about 90% of students were in jobs or in graduate or professional school. This is really an amazing percentage given that it was really an unknown situation around this time in 2020. And I think it speaks to the idea that we are developing exceptional young women that companies, graduate schools, industries want. We're looking forward to seeing that number even higher this year. I'm told it's on track. And we typically place between 90 and 95% of our students within 6 months. I always ask about that other 5%, and I'm told they're off writing their first novel, so I shouldn't be so worried. But it's really quite important to be able to talk about what it means to come to Barnard and then take that next step. And the fact that within 6 months, a majority of our students are out taking jobs, seeking extra education, is really so exciting and impressive to us. Some of that extra education we've worked really hard to create, with Pathways to Colombia. A couple years ago, we started 5-year programs. We call them 4+1 accelerated pathways, which are combined degrees where students get a BA at Barnard and a master's at Columbia within 5 years. After a few years of doing this program, I'm pleased to say that they are highly successful. We have, I believe, over 50 students in the programs right now. We have accelerated masters with Columbia School of Engineering and Public Affairs, CEPA. We have Columbia School of International and Public Affairs, CEPA, the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, CES, Mailman School of Public Health. We have data science programs and the Harriman Institute. And we're working on more. We're so excited for many of these programs. And we also now have accelerated programs for students seeking admittance to the business school and the law school. We've had funding from the Sloan Foundation to work on these programs, and we can't wait to see our graduates in years to come. Our students apply in their junior year to these accelerated masters, and within 5 years, they're coming out with top credentials and top jobs. One of the places we've really worked to put these combined programs together is in the sciences. And as I think many of you know, I am a cognitive scientist, and I actually study why sometimes women and girls shy away from disciplines where they are so poised to thrive. And it's been one of my missions at Barnard to make sure everyone knows that Barnard is the best place to go, whether you're interested in the arts, humanities, or the sciences. Now, I think that people close to Barnard recognize that all of these majors are excellent at Barnard and all of these areas of focus. But if you get a little farther out, I've learned that sometimes people don't recognize our renown in the sciences as much as they recognize our renown across the arts and humanities. And it's not either or. What we provide is an education across the arts and sciences. The liberal arts, it's not the liberal arts and sciences. The liberal arts includes the sciences. I want to encourage students to be chemistry and dance majors, or to take a dance class as they major in biology. Our students all need intense years of writing, which they all get, and they all need classes where they think empirically with data, because they're going to be consumers. I'm pleased to say the curriculum does this, and I'm also pleased to say that our emphasis on an education across the arts and sciences is really paying off. In fact, for the class of 2021 that just graduated, 35% of our majors were STEM majors, compared to about 21% nationally. About a third of our underrepresented minorities are STEM majors. And this year we have 250 students working on campus and at the Columbia campus over the summer as part of our Summer Research Institute, doing amazing research, original research across the sciences. And it doesn't just stop with our students. We have alumni in the National Academy of Sciences and the American Academy. We send about 10% of our class every year to med school. And this statistics, which we don't talk about enough, but I think says a lot. On average, we are number 9 out of any college or university in sending women to get PhDs in STEM per capita of our major grads. That's right, we rank number 9 in producing women who go off to get STEM PhDs as a function of how many graduates we have in the sciences. Really important stuff. And we have to be singing this from the mountains, from the rooftops, that Barnard is the place you go as a student interested in the arts, humanities, sciences, or all of them. Because what we're doing at Barnard is we're teaching students how to think, not what to think. That's a really important distinction. We're teaching students how to think. Not only does that require the ability to write, it requires the ability to think empirically with data, to think computationally, and our young women come out being able to do all of this. One place we've really been focused is making sure that all students, regardless of their backgrounds, have full access to all the resources we have at Barnard and know how to use them. And so this year, actually, we created a new office and initiative called Access Barnard, which is really designed to be a concierge for students who might not have familiarity with American higher education. Access Barnard serves first generation, low-income students, and international students. And the idea is that this can be a place for students to go to get additional financial support, to find student mentors, to learn how to do budgets, to learn how to go to office hours and ask faculty questions, maybe in a way they didn't know how to do before. We've been so excited about Access Barnard in its first year. And when you come on campus next, which will be hopefully pretty soon as we're opening up our campus to visitors and alums, you can see Access Barnard on the first floor of Milbank Hall. It's just an amazing space where our students can connect. We're really excited about what we're doing in this space, and we look forward to continuing it. Finally, as we have in the past, we are really pushing a focus on well-being. We know that this is going to be more important than ever. Young people have high levels of loneliness. We know our students are hard driving and sometimes anxious. And we also know that women tend not to take care of themselves in comparison to everyone else around them. And so a few years ago, we launched an initiative, Feel Well, Do Well, which was the idea being that you can't be excellent in the classroom unless you're taking care of yourself outside the classroom. And earlier this academic year, I announced that we partnered with the Francine Lefrak Foundation, received a very generous gift to create a whole well-being center that will be on the first floor in Barnard Hall. We're starting construction. It's going to be focused around 3 pillars of well-being: physical wellness. Our facilities, as many of you know, could use an update in that respect. Mental well-being. And the third is financial well-being, with the idea being that every student that comes out of Barnard should have a full grasp of her finances, what it means to think about negotiating a salary, health insurance, taxes, investing. This is not something that you learn later in life. We need to teach it now. And if you don't have that confidence in your financial well-being, physical and mental well-being are not always there. We're so excited for this well-being center. There's no center in the country that combines physical, mental, and financial well-being. Barnard really is going to be a leader in that space. So turning now to what's happening on campus, we're in the middle, as I said, of our summer A semester. It's busy. It's really exciting to see students out. We also have pre-college programs for students in high school. For the first time, we're offering academic credit for students who are interested in taking a Barnard class where they can get credit for college. And it's just really great to have this sort of summer atmosphere on campus, something that we know will continue into the future. And of course, we're looking forward to fall. You may have heard that we made the decision to require vaccines for faculty, students, and staff so that we can have a full living, learning environment moving forward. And we're really excited to welcome everyone back to campus this fall. We know we'll still be doing some things like masking, some social distancing, and of course we'll still be COVID testing, but the ability to have everyone vaccinated will make such a difference in terms of living and learning together. And of course, I do want to mention that, this was a hard year financially for so many institutions of higher education. Barnard is no exception, but we are strong, and a lot of it is thanks to your alumni support. Many of the institutions, our peers, got rid of retirement for faculty and staff this year. We did not do that. Many did mass layoffs. We did not do that. We really quickly assembled a team to watch our finances, to make sure we were in good shape, and we're coming out pretty strong going forward. That means that we're looking for support for all the great initiatives that we're working on, whether it's our Wellbeing Center or a remodel of our science building that you'll be hearing more about in the year to come, but we're just so excited for where we're going. And I ask you, whatever you can do, that you make a contribution to Barnard. It's a sign of faith in our institution. It's a sign of what we do in our need-blind admissions, meaning that we don't look at financial need when we're admitting students to Barnard. And it's a sign that you believe in what's happening with our institution. And people sometimes say, well, why do need-blind admissions? And I go back to the point about academic excellence. That is what we do. Our focus is academic excellence, and you can't have academic excellence unless you have a variety of people, viewpoints, lived experiences around the table, and that requires being need-blind and meeting full financial need. Now, most institutions pay for their entire financial aid budget out of their endowment. Because our endowment is so small, Barnard doesn't do that, which means that we raise several million, tens of $1 millions every year to support financial aid, to ensure that our students can come out of those who are on financial aid with minimum loans and debt. And I think we've been pretty successful at that. On average, students who graduate from Barnard have about $17,000 in debt when they leave. Not so bad for those on financial aid. Finally, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the record-breaking class of 2025 who are so excited to join us in the fall, and we're so excited to have them. We received almost 10,500 applications, a 10% increase from last year for just over 600 spots. That's a 10% acceptance rate and makes this one of the most selective of any college or university in the country. 87% of our students who were admitted were in the top 10% of their class. They represent 41 states and 29 countries. We have 18% being first in their family to go to college, and close to 20% are eligible for Pell Grants. About half come from public schools, a third from independent schools, and another 13% from religious schools. We have about half that identify as women of color, and we have many different sports officially recruited to play on the Columbia University Lions athletic teams. We have students coming to play and being recruited to archery, basketball, fencing, lacrosse, rowing, soccer, squash, swimming, and track. And we're so excited that students can experience this unique aspect of Barnard, which is playing Division I athletics. I thought I'd give you a couple cool facts about the class of 2025. One was a member of the City Council of Johannesburg. We have a competitive equestrian ranked in the top 15. We have a deputy director of March for Our Lives in California. We have a producer of the podcast Struggling Together, where 3 teenagers share their musings about school life, culture, and everything in between. We have an environmental activist who co-founded and served as the co-executive director of the U.S. Youth Climate Strike. And in 2020, she was named to Fortune's 40 Under 40 Government and Politics list. We have co-founder of WeSTEM Inc., a startup dedicated to diversity in tech, and a director of a virtual hackathon, the president of her local National Technical Honor Society chapter, a founder of a Kids Who Code chapter, a Girl Scouts regional ambassador, one of 7 Seattle Youth Poet Laureates, and a blogger who writes Broadway shows reviews for folks on the autism spectrum. Just amazing young women coming in. So going back to the take-home message I gave you at the beginning, Barnard is stronger than ever. We're going to greater and greater heights. It's an amazing community, an amazing group of students, an amazing group of faculty, staff, and of course, alums. And I look forward to sharing and learning from you all in the years to come. I want to give a special thank you to Amy Veltman for the introduction and a very first successful year as AAB president. Really thank you for your support and leadership during this time. And thanks again to all of the alums who supported the annual fund or made a college contribution this year. Really, anything that you do matters. It all matters to us. And it's such a sign that you believe in the college and the mission of what we're doing. So we thank you for your support. And of course, as we've now navigated this challenging time, we want to say thank you for your care and understanding. And we look forward to being in person in the years to come. So usually I'd get to interact and hear your questions in person, but because we are on Zoom, I know you've been writing questions in, so I will take some of the questions from those who are writing in right now. Okay, so alums are always interested in how best they can support students. How do we make sure that the contributions we give are going to the most critical needs? And can they be directly earmarked for student resources? It's a great question, and the answer is yes. I think, you know, the most impactful action you can take is make a gift to the annual fund. You can designate it actually in the following area. You can say where Barnard needs it most, to financial aid, faculty support, campus renewal, or to first generation low income student support. So you can make those gifts directly, and those gifts go straight to our students. I have a comment actually from Sylvia Elm in the class of 1961 who asked me to talk about the projects I'm doing around math anxiety in elementary school grades, which I always love talking about my research. In fact, my lab is here now at Barnard in Colombia. And we look a lot at where math anxiety starts. It starts early, and how we can help students and parents and teachers ensure that especially young girls know that math is something they can do and not shy away from. And one of the things that I think is so important to remember is that anxiety early about numbers contributes later to having anxiety about finances or lack of self-confidence. And so we do a lot of work with young children as early as first grade, helping parents work with their kids on math and helping teachers teach in a way that is exciting for students, that they think that math is something you learn, like a muscle, flex it like anything else. Okay, so I have another question about my research. Based on your research on performing under stress, what are some tips and tricks you have for yourself and your family over this last year? And are you willing to share? It's a great question. I do a lot of me search in addition to research, so trying to understand how I should perform. And I will say this, that one of the biggest things that I have had to work on with myself and that I work a lot on with my daughter, with my senior team, is really taking breaks and taking that step back. It's so easy right now to be on your computer all day, to not get up, to not walk around, to not go outside. And there's so much research that shows that being in nature, even taking that break, can actually enhance how the brain performs. So I really urge all of you over this summer to do that, to take that step back, to intentionally shut the computer and take time to recharge and rejuvenate. The world is a crazy place. It's not getting less crazy, and we have to think about our overall well-being. It doesn't mean we don't work hard and roll up our sleeves, but it also means that we have to be smart about supporting our cognitive reserves and making sure that they're filled to the brim. Okay, can you talk a little bit about Barnard's decision to require vaccines for everyone? Barnard is a living, learning environment, and we will have some exemptions for religious or health reasons. But, again, we are a school that's based on data and looking at measures of science and using them. And we're pretty convinced that the data suggests that vaccines work. And, really being clear that we follow what we preach in this way. And a final question, I'll end here, about what makes me hopeful right now. I feel so honored to be at the helm of Barnard. It's an amazing institution that a lot of people know how amazing it is, and we have a lot more people to tell. And the fact that our applications and the interest is so high, that people are recognizing what is so singular and special about Barnard, and really that our students are going out and getting grabbed for jobs and medical school and professional school at such a high rate. These young women are going to go out and change the world, and they make me really hopeful. So thank you for being part of the Barnard family, for continuing to engage. I look forward to seeing you all in person. And of course, don't forget to take that step back over the summer and cognitively rejuvenate. Bye.
Thank you, President Beilock, for taking the time to be with us today. And thanks to all of you for joining us today and throughout the week for our Reunion Reimagined program. I encourage you to visit reunion.barnard.edu for additional program information and resources. Thank you again.